Well, hey folks, Fat Guy Flies RC coming to you from the man cave. All right, CNHL Lipo Battery Company, they sent a couple planes out to me. They sent the Kavan Pulse 2200 version 2, and they also sent out this one here. This is the new Bison XL, XLT or XL. There's no, when you get it in the mail, if you buy the plane, there's just a cardboard box like this that says Bison on the side and all the shipping information, and then you open that up and there's a plain white box and then covering this cardboard box. So there's no box art per se, nothing to tell you anything about the plane, except when you open it up you see the plane. So just like there's no box, that's where they're saving a little bit of money. So we're going to go ahead and unbox this and get everything out of the box and show you over the parts. But everything, like all these planes, everything is protected in its own little, wrapped in foam, its own little compartment. Everything's protected, so let's get everything out of the box and we'll go over the parts. We'll be right back. Real quick, I took all this, most of the stuff out of the, the main compartment here. However, I was like, where's the landing gear? Where's the metal and all the linkages? They're all on the underside in these pockets. So I'm just letting you know that they're all under, so you got to flip it over and get everything that's secured underneath the foam. We'll be right back. Just want to make sure you don't miss that. You're thinking, well, where's my struts and everything? Well, they're underneath. Well, alrighty, got everything out of the box. All right, and I'm going to tell you right now, if you can't see this orange color, you need to get your eyes checked. You can't fly. I mean, this orange is so bright that this video does not give it justice. Okay, hinge on this thing is, these are pinch hinges, but they're pinch hinges with laminate. You can't see. You can see the cells, but you cannot feel the individual foam cells. Yeah, this is really, really nice. The wings, now nothing's hooked up as far as ball links go, but you do have ball links in the kit. Got a nice, I guess they're slotted flaps. Okay, pinch hinge on the ailerons, but they're got laminate in. They're very, very bright. There are no leading edge slats. CNHL has done away with the slats, which is a smart move. You're going to glue in some, looks like vortex generators. They're in the kit somewhere. They're little black. Well, maybe not. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, right here. Little kit of little black. They're just going to glue in your wings. Now, your kit isn't, my kit did not come with instructions, so I'm going to actually have to use, I'm not going to be able to do a build per se, because the screen that I would normally film on, I got to have the manual up so that I can put it together. But we're just going to go over the parts. I'm going to put it together, and then we'll come right back after she's all put together, and anything I came across, I'll share with you. All the screws are that you're going to need are all in little individual bags that you're going to be needing, and that's good. And when you pull your wing struts out, there's a little bag with the screws of where you put these wing struts together. A lot of this work has been done, like that has been the end of the adjustable end of the wing strut has been attached for you. 16 by 8 big old prop. You got 2 spars for the wings. You got a spar for the horizontal stabilizer. All your wing stuff, all the ball links, all the connections for the control arms and everything are all in an individual bag, so nothing's mixed. Your in lights are in their own little bag with their adhesion little sticker they stick on. It plugs right to the end of the wing. I just dropped them. Your battery tray that you get, which is cool, has that little plug-in type anchor that holds the battery tray in there. The inside of this fuselage is huge. I mean, it is. Look at that. And your motor and your ESC are not hooked up, so you'll have to. It's just sitting in there loose, but you'll have to secure it however way you want to, and just test it to make sure you got your polarity right, direction right. It looks like you do have thrust reversing. You got yourself a light controller inside there that all your lights are going to plug into, and I'm going to assume you can turn that on and off because you can connect it to your receiver. Looks like thrust reversing because there's a yellow pigtail on your ESC. That usually means thrust reversing. EC5 connection. Okay, nice instrumentation on the canopy or battery access there. That sits in there very nice. Got the quick connects in the wings right there to take them on and off. And we're gonna got easy pull pins to take your wing. Nice big light right there. Yeah, this is it's gonna be a little more than your average foamy, but without having instructions in my hand, I don't want. Oh yeah, and back here where you put your receiver, a nice hatch there, nice magnetic tray for you to put your hatch in. So I'm going to get it all together because I need the screen that we're filming on to see the manual. I don't have it printed out, and I don't do that. I had to look on a screen. So we'll be right back. If I run into anything that you need to show, that you need to know about, I'll share it, but I'm just going to share my experience afterwards. You will need some glue to glue on the vortex generators and the wing fences that come on the end of the wing. And it looks like you'll need a 2 millimeter, a 2.5, possibly a 1.5. You're going to need some millimeter hex drive tools and some flathead. No, not flathead. You're going to need some Phillips, and you'll need probably a pair of pliers to hold the little nuts in place while you screw in. So you'll need just some basic tools that you'll need. A nice metal aluminum spinner there. Yeah, this is going to be I love the fact that they went ahead and they put the wheels, split the wheels over on the rims. You don't have to glue them in anymore. All you got to do is put them on and put a little shot of air. And they give you in your wing, in your light bag, in one of these, oh yeah, where your battery connection is, or your battery locking thing for the tray, there's a needle in there for you to fill the tires. You want to just fill these up just enough where they round out and have just a little bit of squish to them. That's all you're going to want. You don't want much. So, all right, nice rear wheel. This is all metal. Everything's heavy duty. So, all right, I'm going to get it all together and we'll be right back. All right, first part of this part of the build, you're going to attach this part, your main wing struts, to the bottom of the fuselage, and you're going to be using these large machined screws, and they need a 2.5 hex drive. This says right there, 2.5 hex drive to screw all four of those in. All right, that's step one to attaching the gear, and see how they rake. Here's the front. They should rake like this. So that's step one there. All right, then on either side, you're going to take these brackets and you're going to screw them in to either side with the larger end towards the top there, and you're going to be using these, look like machine screws here, and they go in both with a 2 millimeter hex drive to the side of the fuse. Continuing on. All right, next you're going to take these longer, these are the 14 millimeter screws. Okay, they look like this. You're going to slide them to the top of the strut, and it's the end, the silver end is going to be up towards the front of the fuse, towards the top. You're going to slide this in like that, and then take one of the smaller locking nuts and attach it to either side. You should have that much screw hanging out, and that should swing freely. Continuing on. Alrighty, using the same 14 millimeter screw and the black lock nut, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to pull this wing out, pull this part of the landing gear out, hook this end here, and do the same process. Put the 14 millimeter screw through, and then the locking nut right there, using wrench or a screwdriver and a pair of pliers to hold it in place while you screw it in. And then just repeat the same thing to the other side. Alright, once you've got the landing gear assembly in, that's how it should look, where it's raked forward like that. Now it's time to put your wheels on. Okay, the wheels are going to go with your inflation tube on the inside, so they're just going to slide on there, just like that. And then over here, inflation side is going to do, I'm just holding the camera, so, which is my phone, just like that. Okay, and then you'll be left with these only two of these larger lock nuts. They'll just simply screw on there at the end of the wheel. There you go. Now, when you go to hang your tail, pay attention to those pins right there. You see these hole placements here and here. Pay attention to that peg there, that little wire connection, and that wire connection right there. You're going to hook all that up and to hang your rudder. Alright, now once you get your rudder hung, it should move freely, and you should have a small amount. You may have to push some wires back in there to use a little tool to push them wires, but it should be able to spring freely, and that should line up. You're going to be putting a screw up there to line and make sure these holes line up here. So, be right back. Alright. Tail brake, you're going to hook on the tail brake, the tail assembly, with these decent size 2mm screws. They're not labeled, so it's the medium size that have like a wood bite to them. They screw right in. It's bigger than the ones it's just like you put 1, 2, 3. So, alrighty, for the shock absorbing part of the rear wheel, you're going to be hooking springs from here to here, and from here to here on either side. Now, your choice. If you're going to be landing on a harder surface like I am, you would want these stiffer springs, which are the silver springs. If you're going to be on a loose surface or more gravel or grass, you're going to want these black springs, which are looser. I'll be using the silver ones. I'll show you when it's all done. Alright, I put the stiffer springs on, and you're going to have all that much play. There's not much play in the rudder. Okay, so you're not going to have much rudder authority as far as that goes. If you use a stiffer spring. Now, if you use looser springs, then you'll have more. But anyways, that's what you got. So, and you're not going to have much taxing authority, because that's meant to take authority. That's meant to take a hit. Now, this was a little bit longer of an assembly, then you'd have more authority, but that's what it is. So we'll see how it performs. All right, we're now going to be putting in our horizontal stabilizer. You'll be using both halves with the decal side up. You'll be using the small wing spar and 4 of these little machine screws. I take a 2mm hex drive. I'll show you when we're all done. Alrighty, as you're joining both halves of your horizontal stabilizer, you're going to be putting these larger looking machine screws that have the 2mm hex head, and they're like, I'm sorry, not machine screws, they look like wood screws. They're going to go in here on both sides. However, pay attention, you've got these right here, see these little holes here? Those two are going to line up, and you're going to use these really small Phillips head screws, really small Phillips head screws. They're going to go in them holes right there. Right there. Alright, once you've got those screws in, just as soon as they bottom out, stop right there. Don't over tighten them. And then that little screw just goes in there nice and tight. I mean, it doesn't go super tight, but you're going into metal. I mean, you're going to a metal screw into a plastic housing, so just tap it on in there. Don't go crazy with it. And then you should have all 4 should be in there like that, and you got your rudder right there. Alright, continuing on. Alright, we're going to be putting our struts in. Okay, now pay attention to how these struts are going to slide on there, and these holes line up. If the holes don't line up, then you've got the wrong strut side cooked to the other side. They should line up, those holes should line up perfectly. If they don't, flip them over and do the other one. If they don't line up, then you've got them hooked up wrong. I'll show you when we're done. In the kit, you have, they're actually attached to these struts, 2 small screws. And they're going to go where those holes that line up, right there. Right there, and right there. Alright, when you got the struts assembled, that's how they should look. See how those ends are there? Angled going down the same way, and these are angled going the same way there. And that's how they should look when they're all done. Alrighty. Now that you got your strut, lay your wing down. Beyond something that's nothing, to make sure there's nothing underneath the wing that's going to damage the wing. Lay the wing down, and you see how this strut lines up here? It should line up to where those will key in. They're already attached, these hard points, and it should line up right with the front of the wing, and there's your flap for reference. So that's how it should look. So we're going to and you're going to be taking 4 of these little, look like machine screws. If I'm wrong, I'll get back to you, but I think it's going to be these that have 2mm. We'll be right back. Okay, I was right. It is these, look like little wood screws with 2mm hex drive. You just drive both of them in on either side, and that's how it's going to look when it's all said and done. There's your flap for reference, closer to the fuselage. Should be laying just like that. Okay, there you go. Continue. I'm going to do the same thing to the other side of the wing, the other wing. Alrighty, we're now going to install our wings, which will be, you'll be putting both of your spars through both of these holes here, and then the short, fat machine screw. Now, machine screws are going to be going in here, 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 and here into the wing. And I think these are probably a 2.5mm hex drive. And also, once we get that done, remember those struts, they're swinging freely. You'll be taking in your kit, let me find out where there are. You'll be putting the cotter pins to attach the bottom of the wings for quick release. Alright, I'll get those attached and then I'll show you what it looks like. Alright, once you've got the wings installed, that's how it should look. Now make sure as you're sliding that wing in, make sure you guide this strut. If you do it from the top, because you got to put the screws in from the top. As you're sliding this wing in, make sure you guide this in closer to the fuse. Because if it's hanging out below here, you're going to have to bend it around to get it into here. You're going to have a dickens of a time. So make sure you just guide it in underneath these wings first. Alright, we'll be right back. Alrighty, we're going to be hooking up. I don't normally like to do this until I get everything centered, but I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to show you how I'm going to do it, but I'm not going to hook any of the control servos up until I have the servos centered. Okay, but the only one that you have double ball links on either end is the elevator or the horizontal stabilizer, and that's the longest one that has the double-ended ball link is going to go there. Okay, the second longest one, which now I don't know what I did with it, is going to be going for your rudder. Okay, the ball link part will hook here, and then this little 9mm will hook, or a 90mm or 90 degree angle will hook on the end of the rudder servo, and you'll slide one of these over the end of that. Now, hooking up all of your ball links, you're going to go through. See that hole there? See the hole? You'll take these screws and these little locking washers, and I'll go through all the ball links, and that's what's going to hook up to the actual control surfaces here. On your ailerons and your flaps, the longer rods are for your ailerons, and the shorter rods are for your flaps. Okay. Other than that, we'll move on to putting the lights on the end of the wingtips, but this step here I'll do when I do the radio part, because I want to center those servos before I hook them up. But you'll see that when the end product's done. So we'll keep moving on. Alrighty, you have your the end of the wings, wing caps. They're exactly the same. You can't screw them up. And if you look on the end of the wing, it's shaped how that's going to be glued on there. Okay, now you can use contact cement, medium CA, whatever you want to use, whatever you're comfortable with, and that just screws on there. Let that set, and once that's on there and tightened, then you're going to take one of your lights on either side. You'll take that double-sided tape, and there's 2 prong holes in there, 2 prongs on the end of that light. That just installs right there, and that double-sided tape will hold it in. Now, if you want, you can put a little dab of glue, but that double-sided tape should hold it in there just fine. All right, I'll show you when it's all done. All right, when it's all done with the lights, that's how that should look, just like that. Same thing on the other side. Now I used medium CA with kicker. All right, onward to the prop assembly. All right, I made sure the prop was balanced. Remove your back wing nut, or the back plate, back nut, the bolt, okay? And these out of the bag, both parts of the spinner out of the bag. This is an extra screw, and then just assemble it onto this shaft. We'll be right back. And the last step, after that's putting now the props in there. All right, nice big honking prop. Is then you start gluing in all your vortex generators. They just glue in just like that. They should be angling in at each other, just like this. You're going to look like little shark teeth. Look like little, and they're just going to push them all the way back in where they seat in there. Little slits, and then just glue them in place, just like that. They should look like that from the front, angling in towards each other, kind of direct that air. All right, get them all glued in. We'll be right back. All right, once you got your vortex generators in, that's how they should look, all glued in. I actually dropped them all on the floor and squinched the wing there just a second ago, but it's good. Just a little bit of squish on the end of the wing. But okay, be right back. All right, well, we got her all put together step by step. I'm sure there will be some small things I left out, but we're going to get it all electronically put together. Not going to go over rates or anything with you. I'll go over that after the build. But we'll be back in just a minute. I'm going to have her all hooked up, got her all bound up to my my radio. My Spectrum IX14E. I couldn't for the life of me think of what it was, but I'm a little scatterbrained if you haven't figured that out. But we'll go over everything once I get it all hooked up and all the lights and all purdied and everything level and trim, or all bench trim. We don't have flight trim until we fly her, but we'll be right back with that, and stay tuned. Well, hey folks, all right. We got it all put together, as you saw. That was the first time I've ever done a bit by bit, piece by piece, small video of each individual thing that I did. Let me know how you like that style, focusing on each little bit. There were, of course, a few things that I missed and messed up on, but for the most part, you get the idea. The biggest issue with this plane, and it's not an issue, but it's easy to figure out, was just you had all these different screws and all these different little baggies, and if you go by the instructions, it tells you the millimeter of what screw you're going to use. So at least you have the idea, if you go over the instructions, what the millimeter length of each screw to use. What it doesn't tell you is that whenever it's going to be like a wood screw or a machine screw, and so I kind of screwed up a little bit a couple of times, not with picking the wrong screw, but despite my terminology saying it was a machine screw, and actually it was more of a wood type screw. So if you just, a little bit of deductible, you can figure it out. But even if without the instructions, if you just look at the screws, you can figure out the short, really stubby 2.5 millimeter screws that are shorter are for the wings, and for the really, really long ones is for the gear. And then for the 2 millimeter long machine screws, that was more for the landing gear, the wheels, and the struts, the landing gear struts. And then the really smaller machine screws were for all the linkages and the ball links and all that. And then the rest that were all looked like wood screws that take a 2 millimeter, that looked more like wood screw, were more for the tail. So anything that had like a point on it would go into hard plastic. Everything else that was a machine screw would have a bolt or would go into a brass metal fitting. So anything that plugged into plastic, like a lot on the tail, there were 3 of the exact same screw that plug into the tail wheel, and 2 hold the wheel in. The other one is what went in the bottom of the rudder to hold the rudder in place. Anything that goes into a plastic and doesn't have a metal fitting it's going into is the sharp wood-looking screw that has a 2 millimeter head. So hopefully I didn't make that as clear as mud. Now, you will need to provide yourself a Y. It's easier if you can have a 3-prong Y, because you have the belly light and the tail light, all right, that need to be plugged into the Y that's on that light controller, and then that way those 3 will plug into a switch on your receiver. Now you have a choice. You can either turn the lights on and off or have them on all the time, or you can have thrust reverse. If you want both, you want to be able to select your lights, your lights on the end of the wings,
lights.
Then you'll have to
landing lights.
Let me start over. If you want to turn the lights on and off on the end of the wings with the strobes and the navigation lights, you can turn them off on a switch.
Light.
I'll show you in a minute. And those would be on a switch. Or you can have thrust reverse if you're going to use a 6-channel receiver. If you get a 7-channel receiver, then you can have thrust reverse and be able to control your lights. I couldn't get them to stay on all the time. That light controller is meant to be turned on and off, because if you say, well, I just want the lights on all the time, you won't be able to do that. That light controller automatically wants you to use a switch. So you're going to have to decide, do I want thrust reverse or do I want to turn the lights on and off? Because otherwise, if you choose thrust reverse on a 6-channel receiver, you're only going to have the belly light and the rear light will stay on all the time. The navigation lights on the end of the wings must be selectable. So that's a drawback. And of course, there's no instructions to tell you. The instructions online can go by, but there aren't any instructions that come with the plane itself. Very nice hatch back here. Lifts up. I've got an AR637T telemetry enabled smart Spectrum AS3S Plus receiver. I got a 5,000 there, probably run a 5,000 most of the time. It's the Bison XT. I don't know why I'm saying Bison XL or XT or whatever. It's Bison XT is what it is. All right, let's show you a little bit about the plane, how everything looks. Number one, look at those very bright navigation lights on the end there. Okay. All right. While we're on this, and then of course you got the light on the belly of the plane where my hand is. Okay. And then you've got that very bright tail light back there. Let's go ahead real quick while we're on the subject of lights. There are no lights on in the man cave other than what the Bison XT is making in here. So it is plenty bright. Look at that tail wheel shining on the wall back here. How tail wheel. So then of course there's one underneath the plane. So yeah, this thing has got buku lighting. So for dusk flight, this is going to be absolutely awesome. All right, we're going to go turn the lights back on. Pause right there. All right, we're back. And like I said, I've got the gear switch is where I've chose where I can turn
cruise lights,
these lights out,
landing lights,
and turn them back on. All right, let's take a look at how everything works on the plane as far as the throws and everything. Now, I'm not going to discuss the throws, other than I'm just going to show it to you. You can't really see it. This is a big plane. This is not a small plane at all. Not by any stretch of the imagination. All right, elevator. Well, hold on, you're not going to be able to see that. All right. Elevator, 100% high rates, 100% throws. Ailerons, 100% throws. Rudder, 100% throws. And
takeoff flap, landing flaps.
All right.
Flaps up.
But I'll share all that with you at the field after we fly her. I told you during the build that I was going to go with the heavy-duty springs. I found that I actually had better authority with the softer springs. So I did not go with the silver-looking springs. Instead, I went with the black, softer springs back here, and that did pretty good. Now I've got the throws set to like 150 travel on the rudder just to get more authority, but that is for a reason, so that you know, for stoll landing and bush plane landing, that's why they have that so soft. And it even says in instructions there's going to be some slop in it. So, and that's intentional. You will have at least one screw of everything left over. So they give you extra, so that's good. And the other thing I want to cover real quick in this video is CG. CG with a 5000, where I have it, and I'll show you that in a minute, is 70 millimeters back, and I haven't even, now I realize I haven't even checked it. I just marked it. So, but, oh, that's perfect. That's how I can tell you right now, that's perfect. I got my fingers on the 70 right there, and where I've got the 5000, as you can see, that's perfectly level right there. Okay, so let me show you now where I have that battery to get that CG. Is you can see the front of the tray. Of course, we'll show it in more detail after the maiden, but about 3 fingers in front of that battery right there's a 5000 HRB. So the first strap there, second strap there. All I did is I took some 2-side tape with Velcro to secure the 80 amp ESC to the side. So, and that's pretty much it. You're going to take 4 bolts out and the 1 cotter pin for the strut to take the wings off. And then, you know, and that is a 2.5 millimeter hex drive. Well, all right, folks. Well, there you go. I'm going to have a short camera roll after this build of this thing sitting here with all the pictures and all the pretty lights, So stay tuned for the camera roll. And thank you for watching. God bless y'all. CNHL, thank you for sending the Bison XT out to me. And I was not expecting. All of a sudden that and the Pulse version 2 just showed up. And they said, we want you to review our planes. And I said, okay. All right. I mean, that's a very pleasant surprise. Come home with 2 big boxes and you have no idea where they came from. Then you find out the next day, oh, we sent those to you. So, okay, that's a good thing. All right, well, God bless y'all. Thank you so much for watching. Jesus is Lord. And don't forget, folks, faith, family, and friends, and then really cool, redone correctly, or redone better, big old bush planes, the Bison XT from CNHL, China Hobby Line. Bye-bye now.